Hi class, we're going to review the second set of notes in our lab review folder, or in our lab review notes, and this is the Beaks of Finches lab we're going to go through. So the key points are competition for resources stimulates the struggle for survival. So when birds have to compete with each other, they're going to struggle to survive. In the lab, you guys used your tools as the beaks and struggled to survive by eating the seeds. B, certain variations give some organisms an advantage to survive. C, the environment naturally selects which organisms are best suited to survive and reproduce. The key point, letter D, the surviving organisms reproduce and pass on favorable traits to the next generation. The different tools represent different beak shapes. And then our last key point is that migration to another island represented adaptive radiation. So really what we meant by having you migrate was that you evolved into a different species over a long period of time, and your beaks were hopefully better adapted to the different seeds. So we're going to go through and practice questions using those concepts. As I go through the questions, you can pause and try them, answer them on your own, and then I'll show you what the answers are. So base your answer to the question on the finch diversity chart below, which contains information concerning the finches found on the Galapagos Islands. Identify one trait other than beak characteristics that would contribute to the survival of a finch species, and state one way this trait contributes to the success of this species. So now this is similar to the question you had in the actual lab. You have to think of something other than their beak trait that can help them survive. So you should pause and answer this on your own. Okay, so possible answers, you could have said they would be faster and explain that that helps them get food faster. You could say they have better coordination and helps them avoid predators. You could say that they have camouflage that helps them hide from predators. Question 2. The large ground finch, sharp-billed ground finch, and small tree finch inhabit the same island. If the insect population decreases, which finch would most likely be affected? And support your answer. So you have to use the wheel to help you answer this question. So pause now and answer. Okay, so possible answer, you could say the small tree finch because it eats mainly animals. If you look on the wheel, the small tree finch is over on the left or the right-hand side with mainly animal food, and the others are going to be mainly plant food. Number 3, there are a number of islands in the Galapagos that these finches could possibly inhabit. Explain why each island would not be expected to have all of the species shown. So pause the video and think of an answer. Okay, so one reason could be that there's too much competition. Another would be that each island just has different food, or you could say that each island has different environmental conditions. All right, number 4, when Charles Darwin was developing his theory of evolution, he considered variations in a population important. However, he could not explain how the variations occurred. You're going to name 2 processes that can result in variation in a population, and then explain how those processes actually cause the variation. Earlier in the year, I gave you 5 sources of variation. Let's see if you can come up with 2 of them. So pause now. Okay, so one source you could have said were mutations, and they result in changes in DNA, and that's where you get new traits. Process 2, you could have said crossing over, you get new combinations of genes. You could have said recombination, or if you even just said sexual reproduction because you're combining 2 different parents' DNA together. And then the other 2 that were in that list of 5, one of them was hybridization. You could have explained saying that it was 2 different species that are mixing their genes together. And then if you did mention lateral gene transfer, you have to make sure it's specific to bacteria. All right, now base your answer to the question on the information below and your knowledge of biology. The chart describes the beaks of various types of birds that live in a small island ecosystem containing flowering land plants, aquatic plants, many small mammals, amphibians, and several species of trees. Question 5 says identify the beak type that would be characteristic of predators of small mammals. So the key there is predator of small mammals. You're going to want to pause the video so that you can read through the chart and answer this question. Okay, so the best choice would have been the shredder. If you look up in the data table, shredders are birds of prey like hawks and owls, and they have a sharp curved beak for tearing meat. So meat is in mammals, and that's how you would connect that answer. Base your answer to the question on the information below and on your knowledge of biology. So you have various finches here. Question 6, a person expressed concern that the vegetarian finch may face greater competition when other finch populations increase. State whether the vegetarian finch will face competition if the populations of warbler finches, woodpecker finches, and mangrove finches increase, and support your answer. So pause the video now so you can read about the 4 different finches and answer your question. Alright, so you could have said no because they all eat different foods. Or you could have said yes because they might compete for the same nesting sites. Would be another possible answer. Okay, base your answer to question on the diagram below and your knowledge of biology. The diagram shows variations in the beaks of finches in the Galapagos Islands. 7. State one reason why the large ground finch and the woodpecker finch can live successfully on the same island. So you're going to take a look and examine this chart and see if you can figure out the answer. So pause now, please. And let's see, you could have said that they eat different foods. That would be a possible answer there. Then number 8, identify one finch in the diagram that is least likely to compete with any of the other finches and support your answer. Again, pause the video to take a look at the chart. If you look, there are 2 birds that have unique food sources. So one of them is the cactus finch, and you should have said that because it only eats cactus, none of the others eat cactus. Or you could have said the vegetarian tree finch because they just eat fruit. They don't compete with any of the other birds. Alright, base your answer to the question on the information below and your knowledge of biology. In birds, the ability to crush and eat seeds is related to the size, shape, and thickness of the beak. Birds with larger, thicker beaks are better adapted to crush and open seeds that are larger. One species of bird found in the Galapagos Islands is the medium ground finch. It is easier for most of the medium ground finches to pick up and crack open smaller seeds rather than larger seeds. When food is scarce, some of the birds have been observed eating larger seeds. Explain this long-term change in beak characteristics using the concepts of competition, survival of the fittest, and inheritance. So what I'm looking for is what makes these medium ground finches special that are eating the larger seeds? Tell me about competition with those. Tell me about survival of the fittest, and then tell me about inheritance. So pause the video now and write your answers down. Okay, so competition would increase if food is becoming scarce. If the smaller seeds are decreasing, there's increasing competition. And then the birds with the large, thick beaks would have a better chance of surviving and eating those thicker seeds. And then the birds with the thicker beaks would be more likely to survive and pass it on to their offspring. All right, base your answer to this question on the information below and on your knowledge of biology. In the Beaks of Finches lab activity, students were each assigned a tool to use to pick up seeds. In round 1, students acting as birds used their assigned tools to pick up small seeds from their own large dishes, which was the environment, and place them in smaller dishes, which was their stomachs. The seeds collected by each student were counted. Some students were able to collect many seeds, while others collected just a few. In round 2, students again used their assigned tools to collect seeds. This time, several students were picking up seeds from the same dish of seeds. Number 10, explain how this lab activity illustrates the process of natural selection. So pause the video and write down your answer. Okay, you could have said that students with favorable beaks survived. You could have phrased it as saying tools representing beaks, some were more successful than others, or some way of explaining it similar to that. All right, a population of bats feed on flying insects. Some of these bats have a gene that results in much stronger flight muscles than those of the bats in the area, or other bats in the area. Explain how this variation could lead to evolutionary change within this species of bat. In your answer, so this is question 11, in your answer, be sure to include an explanation of competition within the bat population, survival of various individuals within the bat population, and how the frequency of the trait for stronger flight muscles would be expected to change within the bat population over time. So you can pause the video and write down your answers, please. All right, so possible ways to answer this. You could have said that bats with stronger flight muscles would catch more insects than regular bats. That takes care of the competition. You could say that bats with a successful gene would survive longer, and that takes care of that second bullet. And then the stronger flight muscle gene will increase in the population because those that are surviving are going to pass the trait on to their offspring. All right, base your answer to this question on the information below and on your knowledge of biology. Rabbits eat plants and in turn are eaten by predators such as foxes and wolves. Population of rabbits is found in which a few have a genetic trait that gives them much better than average leg strength. 12. Predict how the frequency of the trait for the above average leg strength would be expected to change in the population over time, and explain your prediction. You can pause the video and write your answer. So you would probably say it would increase because stronger legs means they can probably run faster and get away from predators faster. Make sure that you did answer about frequency. They want to know, will it increase or decrease? So that definitely has to be part of your answer. 13, state what is likely to happen to the rabbits in the population that do not have the trait for above average leg strength. You can pause the video and answer. Okay, so you could say that they might be eaten by predators, and they're probably going to decrease because they don't have strong enough legs and they're going to get caught more than the other ones will. You could say the population would decrease as well. And that takes us to the end of our Beaks of Finches notes. You can now work on the purple packet and complete the Beaks of Finches homework assignment. And I'll be checking that next time you have lab.